Okay, good morning, everybody. So we're going to make this as quick as possible just to kind of go quickly through the progress. And these are the things that I was hoping that we would cover today. And first of all, the summary of progress. We have regular biweekly calls on the improvement initiatives. They're all going really well. The utility leads who are sort of managing and leading these initiatives are doing really an excellent job. So I really appreciate the work by Dan Ott and Getachew and Richard and Patricia and Hélène. It's gone really well. We've also been quite active on the people topics. We published we posted a spreadsheet to collect challenges, and people provided what their specific challenges are with change management and organizational culture and so forth. We've also posted a couple of surveys on organizational culture and on workforce, got some responses, and responders indicated that and offered that they could post their own artifacts and methods and case studies from their internal efforts. So that's been going on. That's been going quite well. So and all the calls are recorded, so videos are available for anybody who wants to see what's going on in these meetings. A couple of people have told me that they had some issues accessing the videos. They're all in a spreadsheet that is called, I think, the video store, and there's quite a number of them there. So if anybody is accessing this from Microsoft Teams rather than OneDrive and has problems, please let me know. It's difficult. A couple of people had told me that a couple of links didn't work. It's difficult for me to debug if it's working for me, but it's not working for somebody else. And this is really not me. This is about Microsoft. Actually, I've been on calls with their technical support almost every night. So let me know if you're having trouble. So I'm gonna just pause now and see if anybody has any comments. We have some leads. Maybe Richard can share what they're doing on his initiative.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to. I actually wasn't there on the call yesterday. Patricia took that one on. But what we got to is we recognise that we've sort of short on time before Christmas to get some workshops done, particularly with Thanksgiving on the horizon as well. So we took the group through just a revision to our calendar leading up to Christmas, so we could fit in an extra session as well as hold a workshop, which was our aspiration before we got to the Christmas period. So it looks like we've agreed on that. We then had a great presentation from Doug at Portland Water Bureau around some of the KPI and metrics used to measure to measure and monitor the amps. Feedback's been really great on that. So thank you to Doug. And I'm sure Mert, you were probably in the background as well helping out. So thanks for that. And then the last thing was we managed to within the workshop, rather than doing it remotely via email, was get the group to prioritize and vote on what workshop topics were most pertinent to them, which is great. So we got some live feedback, and if I just throw that out for everyone to see now, the the results of that were, so we've got 3 key workshop topics that we're going to look to run over the next few months. The reason it's worth mentioning this is that because we've discussed between Cello, Scott, and the group that we'll open this up to the wider topic groups, and also if you're in those workforce and organisational sort of culture groups, the people workshops, the people topics, there's going to be some relevance to you in these as well. So the intention is to probably open them up a bit more widely. So the top results we've got there, if I just read them out now, were a session on digital asset management plans. So there's been a lot of discussion on the group around transitioning to a digital platform to help with engagement across teams within our own utilities. There's also a top vote for life cycle modelling and life cycle costing, okay, for asset portfolios, which is great. And then the other one is around asset criticality and prioritisation methods to help inform planning. So I think the people element, some of those people topics, you might really benefit from being involved with the digital amps, because that's definitely around people, process, and the technology, trying to bring that together. And then there might be some more specific asset management planning related topics in those other 2. So yeah, really great feedback. Thanks for the group for being patient with us in terms of getting information out, etc. But we've got 4 sessions now until Christmas, one of which will be a workshop, and we'll share the details of that more widely.
Thank you very much, Richard. Getachew, did you want to say a couple of things about BCE and CIP track?
Yeah, sure. So we met on Monday. That's our bi-weekly meeting where we share progress made, experiences and lessons, and also encourage each other to on the initiatives that each one of us are taking, and those who are still working on starting an initiative in BCE and CIP delivery. So on Monday meeting, there were a couple of utilities who shared their experiences and their projects. One is Loudon Water. They say that they have a basic BCE form, and they're developing various processes to do the CIP and delivering the BCE. They have challenges. We discuss the challenges, and they ask lessons from participants. A lot of us share those experiences with them, and then most of the time was spent by Metro Vancouver. Jeff gave us several examples of BCEs and his experiences. So that was a very good discussion we had. We learned a lot of things from his presentation, and then a couple of takeaways from his presentation was various roles are established for managing BCE processes. Multiple stakeholders were engaged to make decisions, and they just evaluated various approaches and to characterize benefits, the net present value, payback period, those type of things were some of the the lessons that we learned from his presentation. And then finally, we discussed about which topics is the team interested in learning about or hearing more about. One of them was from Kathleen DC Water. She said that what does a team composition look like on when we do BCE process, and also I believe someone mentioned about matrix. We discussed that last year a little bit about matrices, but now we are not talking a lot about it. So we need to talk about matrix for BCE and project delivery, and how do you handle escalation of costs, and things like that. That was a couple of things discussed. Basically, we from DC Water side, we've been working with Dr. Mike Barnett, who is our business process modeling expert. He's available to help others also. So there was, I think, a mention of using him when we are developing as our business process models using Signavio or any other alternate tool. So that's in brief what was discussed on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Getachew. Mark, quickly, anything on organizational culture? You're representing the leads now today.
Sure, I'm happy to just give you a quick update. We've narrowed down the topics we're going to focus on because organizational culture is such a big issue. We focused on some of the things that we think are foundational to creating the type of organization, to any organizational culture, if it's to function well and to work well as an organization. We're focusing on trust between people, between business units, and between people and the organization, which I think that's great segmentation there. If you think about that, right? You've got really a lot of different elements going on in an organization. Intrinsic motivation, which, that's a topic that's been solved before, so that should be pretty easy. And if we get some volunteer support, we're also going to be taking a look at collaboration and how do we promote and make collaboration happen more often. So we're going to, on those topics, we're going to define maturity models. We're going to identify best assessment methods. Then to support the assessment, we're also going to need a system model, which we'll try to develop. We're going to identify some desired states. Of course, that'll be unique for every organization, but I think there'll be some commonality and some themes that we can pull from each other. And then a methodology to go from, okay, here's where our organizational culture is today. How do we get it to where we want to be? So we're gonna try and put together a methodology for that as well. It's a pretty ambitious plan, but we've got our workshop scheduled coming up in about 3 weeks, and pretty excited to get that going. So that's a quick update from the organizational culture.
Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions? I don't see any raised hands. There's a way to raise your hand if you hover around your screen. There'll be like a little symbol that you can click on if you would like to say something. I don't see any raised hands. Oh, Getachew.
Yeah, my question is, so you said on this peer-to-peer collaboration, I don't know if you are going there, but there were questions, but you didn't say how we are going to share our thoughts to a requesting utility.
On the peer-to-peer collaboration?
Yeah, so like, for example, there was, I think, a survey by Loudon, and we did, I did it yesterday, but there was also a question on frequency of inspection of fire hydrants, but I didn't know how to answer that because nothing was mentioned. The question is mentioned there, but it didn't say how that we are going to give our response to that one.
Oh, that was from me, Getachew, a while back. This is Mert. I think, when I posted it there, I figured people could just sort of like post a reply to Teams. Sorry, I posted it on Teams as a chat. All I would, it would be great if there's like a quick reply there saying something like, once in every 3 years or 4 years or something.
Yeah. Okay. So if Mert, good to see you, Mert. I think our answer is we do inspect our hydrants every year. Yes,
oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I had a little bit of difficulty increasing it to that rate here. But yeah, that's good to know. Thanks, Getachew.
Thanks, Getachew. And that was something that I also wanted to talk about a little bit later, the peer-to-peer collaboration. The way this is envisioned is that if somebody has a question, that they would just kind of toss it out to the community. We have, more than 100 people on this project, and say, well, I'm looking at, this. Is anybody else working on it? Do you have any ideas or artifacts that we could share or thoughts, so that we could start conversations on different levels between, so it wouldn't necessarily involve the project team, but it would be just a platform for utilities to post questions, start discussions, and sort of peer-to-peer collaboration that's facilitated but not, really managed in any way. We could create space for the shared documents and stuff like that. So I think that it would be, if people get into a habit like this, I think that would be very useful. I remember many years ago when we had something when I worked for one of the consulting companies, somebody could just toss out a question on this kind of hotline, and then anybody in the company that had experience with this would chime in, and that it would grow into collaborative kind of dialogue. So I just was trying to replicate that. So if anybody, it would be really good if we can grow this. I know that people don't yet have the habit of looking at the chat or answering these questions, but I think it would benefit everybody. One day you get your question answered, and next day you can answer somebody else's question and stuff like that.
And Cello, if I might suggest, if we could also look for ways that we might start cataloging some of that peer-to-peer communication and creating some artifacts from it. If folks would be willing to, if they've got they're doing a survey, if they would be willing to post those results inside the inside our space, that'd be a great way, because I don't know if you've all experienced this too, but I swear half the time we spend asking questions we think that perhaps were answered in the past, and it's because we don't always do as organizations and people, we don't always do the best job of cataloging things that we've already done. So if we might also be able to post those the results of those things, that would be fantastic. It would create it would be another great enhancement to the collaboration.
That's exactly what I was planning, is that if the discussion starts, to open up a space on OneDrive that would be dedicated to that question, and that have folders for anybody who wants to contribute, and then it just would stay in the knowledge base. That's exactly, and that we would later have a list of all these questions someplace that you could ping, touch on a question and get to that space. It's
as usual, you're way ahead of me, Cello.
so no, but in order to start organizing information, we first have to generate it a little bit. So we're baby steps, I think, is the key word, but it's a really good point. So the next steps are that we're planning the workshops, and we're going to be communicating this, because of we usually just had this reliable way to have workshops at WEFTEC and utility management conferences and stuff like that. So this is a little bit regrouping, reorganizing, but we're working on it. Scott, did you want to mention anything on the workforce thing, an update, because we don't have Lisa here?
Sure, and some people on the call, are part of those teams, but on workforce and change management are the other two topics. And quickly on change management, we've been DC Water did a great job of sharing some analysis that they did of different models for change management, and what they're zeroing in on is use of the ADKAR model has been what they're advocating. But there was a lot of great discussion around the table, in response to that, and we're going to be hearing from a couple other organizations and utilities on what they're doing, and then get ready for a workshop as well. And then on the workforce, we've, like Mark was saying, narrowing down to a couple major topic areas in organizational culture. It's been narrowed down to engagement as a major focus for workforce. So the effort right now is to identify what a maturity model will look like for engagement, and to populate that, and to get contributions from the different participants, and then put organizations in a position to be able to assess that. So we're looking forward to. There have been some organizations that are interested also in sharing what they're doing in terms of assessment and work in the workforce area. So that's a short snapshot, but we're looking towards, maybe you want to say something, Cello, about trying to organize, a workshop that really can be a way to share, to advance these areas, but also to share with others who might be in other groups.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff happening, sort of not quite behind the scenes, but we're not like in a bunker with Dick Cheney someplace. But
shooting ducks, right?
Yeah. So there's a work with smaller groups, and we're planning the workshops, and I think there's going to be some really cool stuff happening shortly. Also, we're noticing that some people are experiencing sort of COVID fatigue, being in Zoom meetings, several hours a day. So we're going to try to make our workshops as interesting and interactive as possible. So thank you for that. We only have a few minutes left, so I just quickly want to mention, I sent out a couple of videos because my first try was 24 minutes and I bounced it off a couple of reviewers. They said, make it shorter, make it shorter. So, okay, I produced a shorter version, and I didn't let anybody review it because they would probably tell me to cut that one as well. So if you have a chance to look at it, it's really the concept of this WISE Utility Water Initiative for Sustainable Effectiveness that we're planning for the long term with Water Environment Federation. And it kind of provides the context for these different efforts that we're doing and how they all tie together. Are there any? I have Mike Sweeney's hand up. Mike. You're on mute, Mike.
Sorry, it's mistimed. I'll make, before we break up, I wanted to say something. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, so anyway, if there are any comments, shoot me an email. I'm keen to improve, answer questions, do anything. If there are any comments you want to make now, just raise your hands. And then I talked about the peer-to-peer we talked about peer-to-peer collaboration, and then I'll go to Mert has his hand up now.
Yes, real quick. Since we are going to have, I feel like, so many workshops coming up soon. I like in the AMP meeting yesterday or the day before, everything is kind of a blur, but there was like a little calendar showing like the workshop dates and large main activities happening in the project. I was hoping it would be possible maybe to consolidate all that in one calendar so that we could maybe do like individually, figure out what we can move around our own calendars to make things work.
No, that's a great point. I have on my own personal side issues like that because I have 3 calendars, one for my regular day job, one for this project, and one for the other WRF project where I'm the co-principal investigator. So absolutely true. So we're gonna try to figure out how to map all this out so that it's not overwhelming, but it's accessible and people and the times work out and stuff like that. So I appreciate the comment. Mike Sweeney?
Yes, Cello, just a real brief word of encouragement. I'm using the Teams web version, so I may be limited to what I can see. I figured maybe something out that way, but my words of encouragement are, on my screen, I see 2 letters for each person, and I don't see video. I'm more than 2 letters. I'm a person, and I see on the screen here, we have workforce, organizational culture, all the people topics. I encourage everybody to turn on their video so we can see you and get to know you, at least to the limits of this COVID virus that has presented to us. And let's make this a bit more real, because quite frankly, I'm getting pretty tired of seeing 2 letters in circles. That's all I have to say.
Well, I'm glad you had your camera on, Mike. I like the new look.
And I guess I've turned a little curmudgeon-y to go with the look. Sorry about that, but thank you.
Well, becoming a curmudgeon for Mike was a bit of a transition. For me, it's just a natural process. So yeah, it's really would be it's really great to see everybody, but it is getting recorded. So if you're wearing your pajamas and you have some concerns, maybe we can do it next time. But it is really great to everybody. So any other? We're at 2 minutes before. Any other comments before we break off? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. I know how you're getting inundated with these calls. I'm trying to keep these as short as possible, and I